Hello, this is Matt from Automio, and I'm just going to show you how we're going to use the Flow Manager and the Flow Editor to create and manage your own flows. I'm already logged in here into the Automio authoring environment, which is at www.automio, and you can see that I've already got a collection of flows here, and flows can be quite large. They can contain several thousand points if required by the logic that you're trying to automate. Here's just a big example with a lot of points in it, or it can be a more straightforward and simple construction. For example, this attorney certificate is maybe a slightly more visually manageable program with a bit less logic than that previous example, but whatever shape that flow is going to take and follow your thought processes is up to you. So to get a new one started, we just go down here in the corner and we hit plus, which creates a flow that's called Untitled Flow. And we're just going to go ahead and give that a name that's a bit more meaningful by pressing the little submenu that each one of these has, and we can rename that guy to, how about we call this Learning to Flow, and submit. Pop in there by clicking it and editing it, and which always starts us off with a single point. So every flow begins with a single instructional point called the flow start. This is the first thing that your interviewees are going to see when they arrive. So I'll just put the word welcome in there. You can have as detailed an instruction as you need to get them going. And of course, you can always come back and add more later if you want to just get in and start working. Since we've got this point selected, the radial menu is what's popping up here, and that radial menu always has the edit button at the very center where that point is that allows you to change what's happening in that point. And then off to the right, you'll have your clipboard, which is where we paste, and you've got your add button, which is where we add the various point types off to the right in this case, and then you've got your trash can, which does some of your deletion actions, and I'll show you all those in a minute. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to pop through here and have a look at these points that we can add. I'm going to devote another video to token use. For now, we're just going to pop in here and we're going to add a question. So we simply click it, and that's added it to the right. Now doing that is, now that we have more points here, we see that you've got some more buttons here on the left. Because there is some room here between, we can also add things to the left. So I'm just going to press that to make a demo of how you can do that here by clicking the plus on the left, then clicking the output points that we want to add. We can add an instruction point, for example, which is shown to the customer, the interviewee, as they're going through the process. And you see that that's added it between the 2 points that we were working on. And I can just say, hello, this is another instruction, just to make a point. And we generally want to put a title on our points. This is only ever shown up here in the flow, so that we can keep ourselves organized about what we're building. So that's adding to the left. I can either click another point to get in and start editing it, or I can also use this navigation down here, going left and right through the flow. And I'll show you that. It gets a bit more useful, especially when we're using branching questions. If you don't like these labels also, once you get used to all these functions, you can toggle them on and off here. I'm going to leave them on while we're getting used to them, the different functions of these buttons. And when you're selected on a question, if you know that you're going to do a bunch of multiple choice, you can start adding them straight away if you want to see the branching. There's also a little trick in this case when you're editing an answer, you can add another answer to the left, and it realizes and figures out that you're trying to add it to the same question. So just a shortcut instead of having to go back to the question and then add an answer to the right, which is also perfectly valid. So a couple different ways to start your branches. So when you first make a question, it makes sense to think about it from the point of view of the interviewee. So I'm jumping straight into the question body in this case, and I'm just going to ask a question like, what color are your eyes? Now, then we've got to give this question a title, which is, although it shows up here in this area, there's going to be a more important use when we try to use this question as a token in our content, and I'll show you how that works. But we've got to basically name the answer that we're getting from this question. So if we're asking somebody what color are your eyes, this question should be called eye color, because what they tell us represents eye color. So we've got a few options here we've already added in, so I'll just edit the first one, and we'll pick a pretty common eye color, brown, which is what is going to end up showing to the customer when they're making their selection. But in terms of the value, we can use this in a couple of different ways, and probably in the middle of a sentence. So I'm just going to make it lowercase brown, and we're not going to allow user input. This is just multiple choice. So we're not allowing them to type in. So I'll go to another one of the answers and I'll edit that. Blue. I'll do the same thing that we did. There's many ways to use this answer value, but I'm just going to show you a simple example so that we can carry on. And then why don't we use green eyes here, and I'll show you how to use the delete now because I really don't want that fourth option at the moment. I'm going to click on it and I'll press the delete button, and I've got three types of actions that I can do when I'm under the deletion area. I can delete one single point, which is shown by this little rifle scope, which is the most accurate. So if I click that, we'll see that that's removed that fourth point, and I can undo it if that was a mistake using my undo and redo buttons here in the lower corner. So I brought it back. If I'm in a situation where there are some points after this one, I'm just going to chuck one in there just to make a point of this and chuck an instruction. I'm not going to do anything with it, but I'm going to pop back here and I'm going to hit delete. And I'll see that, that I have a couple more options. I can't delete one point, this one only, because that would mean that an instruction was immediately following a question, and that's against the rules. So a question can only ever be followed by an answer. So we're trying to keep you out of trouble by forcing some actions not to be available. So if I do look at these other ones, I can click the lightning bolt. So the lightning is deleting all of the following points, and that can be lots of points. You know, this could itself have branches and output of its own. Doesn't matter how much followed it and how much complexity. If I click on this and I hit delete and I hit this lightning bolt, it's going to get rid of all of it following. But it's going to leave this point intact, just like a lightning bolt doesn't destroy the cloud, it just destroys what follows the cloud, or is under the cloud, if you will. I'm going to undo that and just demonstrate the last deletion button, which is the bomb, and that takes out the point that we're selected on and everything that follows it. So it's the most destructive. So you can think of it in terms of most destructive down to least destructive. Great, so now we've got our three branches, and we'll want to carry on from here using these answers in our document at the end. So now I'm adding a point off to the right here to get us moving along, and let's say that we're going to use this this answer that they've given us in a piece of the output. So I'm going to make a new paragraph in our document. Now this is the first output point in the document, which means this is the first thing that will appear when the document gets spit out. And what we'll do is we'll hop in here and we'll say that this is a paragraph that's about the eye color of the interviewee. Now I can just start texting something, starting writing text, something like, you have indicated that you have some color of eyes. Now I don't know what they picked, so quite simply all I have to do is to look over here on the left hand side and look at these token areas. One of them is called sections, and we'll get to that in a minute. We haven't created any sections, so that's empty. But this one, learning to flow, that's the flow that we're working on right now. This large flow that we're starting out now. And inside of it, we see that there is a token available for eye color, and that's simply the question that we asked the customer and the name that we gave that question. And it's if I just stick my cursor here and I click it, it'll add that to my content. So you have indicated that you have blank eyes. So if they told us it was brown, it'll say you have indicated that you have brown eyes, period. You can also do this by if I just get rid of this and I drag this in, you can drag it around inside the content to wherever you like. Sometimes it's just easier to click it. If you're on an iPad, also that drag is not supported at the moment, so you'll have to just click that. We'll sort that out in a later version. You've indicated that you have brown eyes or blue eyes or green eyes. So that's how we use a token in that content. Now we don't want to have to make a copy of that necessarily for each of these branches. We probably want them all to go to the same place and then just carry on. If we did want to copy, we could just go clipboard on the left, and the reason that these copy and cut functions are on the left of the point is that they're including the point that's being selected. The paste is on the right because whenever we paste, we're pasting to the right, we're pasting after that point. Whereas here, when we're doing a copy, we're including this point. So we're really just copying one point in this example, and I'll paste it off to the right. So I could do this, and I could make all of these have the same output, and we could even end there, but that wouldn't be very useful for going on because we would be branching too much. So if I instead, let's get rid of some of these points and just keep this middle fork, if you will. And so how do we get our customers or interviewees down to that track? Well, we use our jump point. So we add a jump, which gives us a question. Where would you like to jump to? Well, we want them all to jump to this point from which we'll carry on. So tick the green tick, and now that's going to jump to eye color if they get there. Green, same, add a jump to there. Is that the right one? No, it's not the right one. Cancel it. No, that's not the right one. Cancel it. Yeah, oh yeah, this was the right one. Green. So, and of course you can undo that and redo any of these actions as well. Okay, so now we've got, no matter what they've answered, everybody's coming through this central branch, and we can carry on and maybe ask another question. So in this case, I'm going to use some text input. I'm going to ask them their name. And we already know that this one's going to be called name because that makes the most sense. What is your name? And I'm going to use my little arrows here to zip to the next point. I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to say that we're going to allow user input for this name. And that means that we don't need to have a, it does say required here, we'll change that. That's not necessarily required. When you tick this, we'll make this disappear, but for the moment, just as long as this is ticked, we're going to take text. And then from there, we can then use that in some other output. So just want to now show you how you use the next point type. In this case, we started a paragraph with the text. You have indicated that you have blank eyes, brown or blue or green. If we don't want to make a new paragraph, and we want this existing, this next piece of output to just add on to the previous paragraph, we have the ability to use text snippets here. This is just saying, by using this point, I'm just going to add whatever is in here to the previous paragraph point. So in this case, maybe we'll say this is a greeting, and we'll say, it's nice to meet you, comma, name. Complete. Excellent. Now we'll have a look at how we can preview by starting all the way over here at the side, at the beginning, at the flow start. We get this preview button available here so that we can actually see what this is going to work out, how this is going to work out when somebody comes through and does the interview. Just click next after we've been welcomed. Here's another instruction. You saw me stick that in there. And then we just pick an eye color. I'm going to pick green, even though I don't have green eyes. You have selected green as your answer. Now this doesn't show, this is for preview purposes only and will not be displayed when doing the interview. It's just showing that we've let them choose green. We've got this value of lowercase g green, and now it's going to jump, and here's that piece of output. So the paragraph started with, you have indicated that you have green eyes. It's underlining the token that was been replaced, and then we ask for their name, and we might say Fred Smith, and the value, and then the output, it's nice to meet you, Fred Smith. Now you can't see this in the final output until we then publish it out to the try.atomio site, but we're covering that in another video. So just trust me that this gets added to the paragraph that preceded it. Now, so we've covered off the two of the output points, and well, three of them if you count the instructions, which is output, but doesn't get included in the final document output. But what we might also like to do somewhere here at the top is to show you how to use the final type of output, which is the heading section. So if I just add one of these off to the left, this is how we can put a large heading in this your interview. We'll just give an example. Your interview. So this is your interview. This really can be anything. It's generally the name of the document that you're trying to create. So if this was a business plan, or if it was a recommendation or a quote, whatever it is, we could chuck that right up at the top. But this is just an example. So we'll just do that. And so this is a good time to understand how it's going to pull this output together into a final document. Since we always start here and start asking the questions of the customer, it won't show them. It'll show them the instruction, but it won't show them this heading it'll just take them after the instruction straight to the question, show them the choices, and carry along, not showing them the output until the very end. So often to the next question, asking the question, getting the answer, and then what's really happening is that interview is actually collecting all of the points as it goes along in the order in which it encounters them, and using those to assemble the final output of the document. So in this case, the first thing that they'll see is the heading, then they'll see a new paragraph, and then there'll be a piece of text that's appended to that paragraph. So that's the flow editor. I don't believe there's any points that we haven't added yet. We're going to go over a pack in another video, as well as the token, and making a pack as well. This is the button that we use to pack up a question. So we'll cover that in the next video. But this has basically covered the radial menu, which has our toggling labels on it for that. For those of you who are used to the tool and don't need those anymore, that we can always edit a point and access its content and how it's going to behave itself if it has certain behaviors. And from there we can just keep adding points left and right until we have a picture of our complex process and put it in front of our customers and turn it into a product that can make us some passive income. So I hope you've enjoyed this video and that it makes sense, and hope you'll look at the next videos around packing and tokens.